Well, hey, let's get started on our lesson 6 lab. This week we were thinking about our fresh ingredients and concentrating on vegetables. And our focus recipe this week, we had two different choices. The first option was the single serve cheesy broccoli rice in a mug. And you can use our guiding recipe and go ahead and click on that link. There's a demo there from you from a chef named Gemma. She has everything prepared, as well as several other single serve meals in a mug for the cooking method of microwave cooking. An awesome guiding recipe to work with this week. The second guiding recipe of the week is the one that I'll be preparing with you today, and that is our broccoli with creamy Parmesan sauce. You'll see here that I've already started some mise en place, so let's check out what I have out on my table to keep me from having to run around. Our recipe calls for a pound of broccoli. It tells me in my directions to trim 1/2 inch off the broccoli stalks, remove the tough outer layer with a vegetable peeler, and to cut the broccoli lengthwise so the florets attached to the long stalks are in 1 to 2 inch wide pieces. Bring 1 inch of water to a boil in a Dutch oven fitted with a steamer basket. Steam the broccoli until tender. This will take about 5 to 10 minutes. All right, so my first step is that I have to prepare my broccoli. I have a pound of broccoli. I've gotten out my cutting board. Today I'm going to work with a paring knife, this small handheld knife. So I got that out. I also got out my vegetable peeler so that I can work with my stalk of my broccoli and show you how to use all of this broccoli so that no food goes to waste. This is food. It does not go into the landfill or compost. After I prep that, I'm going to have to steam it. So at home, you may have different steamer basket setups. I did not have what I needed here in my commercial kitchen lab to show you. So I actually set up a basket with the water in it, my pot, and then I have a strainer and a lid that I can place over this. So we're going to cut up the rest of this broccoli, put it all together in my little steamer basket that I created, and get it over onto the flame so that it can get steaming. So that means for this step here, I have all of this prepared. My mise en place looks good. But what about the rest of Miss Peterson's mise en place? It tells me for my sauce that I will need a tablespoon of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of non-fat milk divided. Whoa, divided. That means you always stop and head over and figure out how it needs to be divided. So it says I need to whisk a 1/4 cup of milk into a small bowl until it's smooth. And then it says I have to heat the remaining 3/4 cup of milk in a saucepan over medium-low heat until steaming. Okay, so instead of measuring that whole cup of non-fat milk into my liquid measuring cup, I'm going to measure just my first 1/4 cup, and I'm going to put it in this bowl that I have gotten out with this whisk and my tablespoon of flour, right, to get the job done. And if I'm really super honest, I would just be working through that too. I'd probably just go ahead and chuck that tablespoon of flour right in there, huh? Get that done. Get that flour put back away. All right. I'm also going to need a 1/2 cup of freshly grated Parmesan cheese. Keyword, the freshly grated kind, not the dehydrated dry stuff in the Kraft green shaker bottle in the fridge, okay? So that's different. The freshly grated stuff is going to do a better job of melting, is the why there, all right? So I need a 1/2 cup of freshly grated Parmesan cheese. So I have my Parmesan out. And team, this is where you can vary. This is where you can differentiate your recipe. You could use Parmesan cheese. You could use a sharp cheddar. Sharp cheddar is a good idea because it's got an extra kick to the flavor. And with the milk and such in our recipe, it will help hold all that strong flavor. You could use a mozzarella cheese. You could use a soft melting cheese. You could use all sorts of different options. You don't have to just stick with Parmesan here. You could even do an Italian blend, and you could do a 1/4 cup of Parmesan and a 1/4 cup of Italian blend. Okay? So options are there for you. I have my fresh grated Parmesan, and I'm going to go ahead and get my 1/2 cup measured. Set that aside for myself. Right? So we clean as we go, and we get our things put away. And then just for giggles, so that I can put my milk away, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create my flour and milk whisking mixture, measure my remaining 6 ounces of milk. There's 8 ounces in a cup. So 2 ounces go into my flour mixture. And I whisk as instructed and just set it aside and wait. Okay? So we do that. I got my cheese, and then I need my remaining 3/4 cup or 6 ounces. So I'm going to go ahead and measure that so that I can be a good, safe chef. I can set that aside and I can put this back in the fridge and not abuse it with time and temperature along with my Parmesan cheese. So let's go ahead and get those put back into the fridge, okay? So with that, I'll just click a little pause and I'll be returning in a second. All right, we put our refrigerator items back in the fridge and we continue down and we see that we're gonna need a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a pinch of pepper, and a pinch of nutmeg. Our recipe here calls for a ground white pepper. If you have a ground white pepper in your cupboard, use it. It'll actually be a wonderful, nice flavor, and it will actually keep your sauce white instead of having those darker pepper flakes in it. So that's a good reason to break out the white pepper. The nutmeg is a really, really great flavor add to any white sauce here, this nutmeg. So just a tiny little pinch will really go a long way and add out some beautiful flavor. So now I see here that we have our mise en place out, and it is time to start prepping, right? We want to start our broccoli first because we want it to be cooking and steaming for that 6 minutes. We want it to be cooking and steaming for that 6 minutes while we're making our sauce, because our sauce is really going to take about 6 minutes to pull together as well. So definitely want to get that going. I'm actually even going to go ahead and get my water onto my flame over here and get the water getting hot so that it can start steaming and actually cooking as quick as possible. So you, in your preparation work, go ahead and get your water heating while you're preparing your broccoli, okay? You've washed your broccoli, you've taken it to the sink and you've rubbed the stalks down, you've let the water flow through it here and shaken it through and getting any sands out of this vegetable here. This category of vegetable here is actually considered a flower vegetable, your broccoli, because you are actually literally eating a flower. Look it, this is actually considered a flower. So that's kind of fun in the flower vegetable category in our summer vegetables, right? I like to also go through and I like to pick off the little leaves if I want to, right? And then I just set them aside, and you can throw those away. They actually can even be put in a salad, believe it or not. But let's look at how we want to cut down now these broccoli florets, right? So this is why I like to work with just my paring knife, because I really just need small, precise cuts anyway. And when I'm working with my chef knife, look how far away my hand is from the tip of the blade if I'm trying to make real precise cuts. My hand is super far away. It's not even in the camera shot. But if I have my paring knife, look, I can get nice and close and I can be real precise and deliberate, okay? So I want you to think of working through your florets. These are called the florets. Is you're just going to take the sharp part of your knife and you're going to cut way up here. And then you're going to turn and cut way up there, turn, cut way up there, turn, cut, all right? turn, cut. So we don't want to make a big cut here. We're not being precise. We want to be precise and cut our florets off, right? Now that I've got this bigger top, right? So this here though, but look how big this is. This wouldn't fit in a 5-year-old's mouth. So let's go ahead and instead of taking our paring knife like this, you guys, I want you to back up and I want you to hit it here on the stalk. I want you to hit it right here, and then look, it divides out real nice and no broccoli dust. All right, clean. Go ahead and chuck that straight into your steamer basket and just keep on working. All right, so if any of your florets are just not really bite size, cut them in half before they go into your steamer basket. If you are making broccoli florets though for a veggie platter, the bigger ones might be okay. All right, now we can cut off this part of our broccoli stem because I just have a hard time working with the woody stuff here. And then you're just going to take your peeler and you're going to peel the woody stalk off. Now look, see here where it's still a green, but here where it's getting a pale color. So if you look, this is the hard barky spot that we have to peel away. So here I have peeled away the barky spot, but it's still here. You see the color transition? So that's what you need to do. You need to just peel away the barky spot. And you can use all of this then. It's food. It doesn't go in the landfill. It doesn't go in the compost, the actual food part. This part we can feed to our families, stretch our budget, stretch our money, stretch our food, so that all of this goes, right? So this part is okay to go into the landfill or into your compost pile. This is gonna not cook down soft, okay? Now look at all this food we have, right? So we go ahead, we cut those down into bite-sized pieces that kind of match our broccoli florets. And then we just continue ahead. We don't do one thing at a time. We don't putz. We just get it done. All right. So when I drive across the top too much, then look at how much separation I have to do. And sometimes that's okay because then you can just grab them. I'm happy with that size. There, so we've cut through our pound of broccoli. We got it into our little steamer basket, and we're gonna get it onto the boiling water here. See how steam is coming up? Not really, you can't tell from the camera there. So steam is starting to rise. Now you can see it. And that steam then, this type of cooking, steam cooking, is gonna pass up over the broccoli, right? It's gonna come up over the broccoli. It's hot water, hot steamy water, and it's going to cook it, all right? So now while that happens for this 6-ish minutes, you and I are going to drive ahead and make our sauce, okay? So we're going to go ahead and step up to our burner, right? We're going to step right on up to our burner. I got a little hard water buildup there. And we're going to heat our 6 ounces of milk per our directions until it's all steamy. And we're going to have our mise en place whisk in place, right? Moving it around, because milk is dairy products. They don't like to boil. You're scorching it then. It doesn't like that. It just wants to get up to that nice steamy temperature, and we're doing that in order to get the correct reaction with our thickener here. So the milk and the flour mixed together like this is a thickener, and it's going to make this liquidy milk. You can even kind of pay attention to like the way that the whisk and the way it splashes around right now as it heats. It will transition into a silky smooth sauce. And you'll see it'll be like a smoother ribbon as things move around. Right now we're just getting this 6 ounces of milk up to temperature. I'd say we're looking for probably like 140 degrees. So we're sitting at like 120 now, 130, right? So we're gonna go ahead, give it a little stir, move it around, allow the energy, right, to transfer through. And you can see now on here, down in my pan, little bubbles are starting to form and it's getting hot. And I don't want to boil this milk. That's not my goal. So I've made my flour milk mixture, and it's super important you go ahead and you whisk this again before you get started. And you get all of it into the pan. But now you're going to whisk, whisk, whisk. You're going to keep whisking. Here's why. So that liquid and the flour are creating gluten, right? They're creating little rubber bands and making things stretchy, okay? And where the heat is applied on the bottom of this pan is where the rubber bands are really forming best, happiest, if you will. And if I don't whisk right now, then all the rubber bands are going to build up at the bottom of my pan of gluten and create lumps, all right? So when we make a sauce and when it's time to work our thickener, whether it's a flour liquid mixture like this, whether it's a roux, whether it's a cornstarch, it's very important to tend it that whole time and make sure you're whisking so that major thickening isn't happening on the bottom of the pan, making lumps and regrets, all right? So your heat, right? What temperature should this be on? Whisk your flour mixture, cook and whisking until thickened about 2 to 4 minutes. You're gonna keep this on a medium heat. And oh, here we go, it's starting to happen. I can see it visually on my side. I hope you guys can see it through the camera. But as I whisk here, you should notice that the way the milk is behaving, it's got a more silky, thick texture versus a thick texture, right? And it's important again that I keep on whisking all over the bottom of the pan, moving any of that thickening around. Now, my next step after I've successfully thickened my milk is to take it off of the heat. And I'm super happy with this. I'm happy with, like, it doesn't splash around like thin milk anymore, so to speak, right? So now the directions tell me to take it right off the heat. And this is where I add my cheese of choice. This recipe is calling for a Parmesan to go with that broccoli. Sounds good to me. But like I mentioned at the top of the video, you can totally pick a different cheese if that's in your heart, okay? So now this is the part where we use the hot milk, the hot sauce that we created to melt this cheese. And then if you're using like a mozzarella or a cheddar, they will melt quite smooth for a really, really silky sauce. Your Parmesans have a lot of salt and citrate crystals in them, a lot of that, so they won't always melt as smooth. And that's why in my recipe recommendation to you, oh, look at that, lovely. We got nice cheese sauce. Do you see it? It's going to be perfect. It will melt, but it will still have just some. You'll be able to see it always. It won't be silky smooth, the Parmesan. Okay, time to add season. My recipe called for what? Just a pinch of nutmeg. You guys, just a smidge, right? So just a pinch of nutmeg, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Okay, and then it calls for white pepper. If you don't have white pepper, so what? Just use a pinch of black pepper. Okay, so now we've added our adjust to season, right? And we're going to go ahead and whisk, whisk, whisk. And now it's time to get it on the dinner table for your family, right? So this is where you're going to put it in some sort of gravy boat, or you're going to just put it in some right over the top of the broccoli if you wanted to. Right? Our broccoli's been going to town, boiling away over here for several minutes. Let's check in on that. Now, to properly cook our broccoli, team, look at that beautiful pop of color. Look at that transition that's happened to this broccoli because it's cooking. In order to know if it's done, I go ahead and I just take my paring knife and I head in here and I slide it into my broccoli. If it slides in nice and easy, I might have gone too far, right? You kind of just want it to be to the tooth. So for me, this broccoli is it's ready because my knife stabs into it, but it gives me some resistance. I'm not making broccoli mash. I'm making steamed broccoli, that's it, all right? So it's time to pull this out. We can shut our flame off, head back over to our table, right? We have our steamed broccoli, looks beautiful, bright and happy. And then we have our gorgeous sauce to serve with it. Oh, we're losing focus. There we go. We have our gorgeous sauce to serve with it. And that can go right out to the table. So you can see how you can totally just whip up a sauce fast. You can choose your cheese. You can modify this. You can add garlics. You can add different season. You could put you could cook noodles and add noodles to this broccoli in this amazing sauce, couldn't you? So there's all sorts of things you can do. Let's try it. That's what we should do. I know that when I make sauces like this, I really love to use like an Italian blend with a little of my Parmesan for a little bit more smoothness. All right, I want to try it. It's fantastic. You got to make this, you guys. Have the best week. Study hard on those vegetables. Learn the different seasons they come to harvest. Learn about your herbs and spices and transitions. And just have a really good time exploring this topic. Have a good one, guys.